You stood in the doorway of the apartment that was now only yours. The lights were off. The men who had helped you carry the boxes had gone back to their own families. You sat on the edge of the bed and tried to think of one person you could call. There was no one. This is the night most men file as the worst of their lives. They are wrong. It is the most important. The men who survived this year, the year nobody warned them was coming, come out remade. The men who don't are still wearing the face of the boy they were before it started, at 50, at 60, at the funeral of a father they never reconciled with. Tonight we name what is happening to you. You tell yourself this is a rough patch, that everyone goes through this, that the right move is to push through it, to fill the calendar, to download the app, to start the new thing, to never sit still long enough to feel how still it actually is. As soon as you find the next chapter, the year will end. You can feel it almost beginning, surely by next month. Most men spend years inside a year because they keep trying to escape it. You watch other men your age and they seem fine. They have the wife, they have the team, they have the dinner plans on a Tuesday. You assume something is wrong with you specifically, that you are uniquely failing at the part of life everyone else has figured out. You search for the word for what's happening. The word you find is depression, or anxiety, or burnout. None of them is correct. The lie underneath all of it is this. You think the year is the problem. You think if you could just get out of it, your life would resume. Your life cannot resume. It is finished. Here is the truth. The year is not happening to you. The year is happening for you. Every culture before this one had a name for what you are inside. They had rituals to mark the entry. They had a place, a forest, a desert, a cave, a corner of the village, where the man went when his old self began to die. They had elders who would name the descent and refuse to let him escape it. You got the descent without any of the rest. This is why you cannot find the right word for what's happening, because the word does not exist in the language you were raised in. The word lives in older languages. The Greeks called it katabasis, the descent into the underworld. Carl Jung called it the night sea journey. Joseph Campbell called it the belly of the whale. They are all the same room. The year is not punishment. It is the curriculum. What you have been calling failure is initiation without ritual. The collapse is the controlled demolition of the man you were before, clearing room for the man you are about to become. There is no shortcut. There is no chapter you can skip to. There is only the year, only you, only the slow turning of seasons that is going to remake you, whether you cooperate or not. Carl Jung knew this, not from books, from inside. In 1913, after his break with Sigmund Freud, Jung walked out of one identity and into a 5-year wilderness of his own. He resigned his lectureship at the University of Zurich on April 30th, 1914. He stopped writing for an audience. He sat with the unconscious he had spent a decade theorizing about and let it speak to him directly. He wrote later, in Memories, Dreams, Reflections, published in 1962, near the end of his life, about that year. I felt totally suspended in midair, for I had not yet found my own footing. The man who would later define a century of psychology was, for 5 years, lost. He named what he was inside. In Symbols of Transformation, written in 1912, right at the edge of his own descent, he described what he called The night sea journey. The sun going down into the Western Ocean. The hero swallowed by the whale. The descent into Hades. He wrote that the loss of energy a man feels during this passage, what we now mislabel as depression, is the necessary prelude to rebirth. The descent is not the disease. The descent is the doorway. Joseph Campbell, 4 decades later, mapped the same passage as a stage of the hero's journey. In The Hero with 1,000 Faces, published in 1949, he called it the road of trials, and, at its deepest point, the belly of the whale. The hero, Campbell wrote, has to be willing to die to his old self so that he can be reborn. The men who survive the year are the men who allowed themselves to die to who they were before it started. James Hollis, the Jungian analyst, wrote in the middle passage in 1993 that the person you have been is to be replaced by the person you are about to become. The first must die. That death and rebirth, he said, is not an end in itself. It is a passage. You are inside a passage every man before you has had a name for. You just weren't told. The men who walk back out of the year do 3 things. None of them is heroic. None of them is fast. The work of being remade is slower than the work of being made the first time. The first move is the crossing. The first thing you do is stop calling it the wrong name. You stop saying you are depressed. You stop saying you are stuck. You stop trying to figure out what comes next. You say out loud in your own kitchen, with no one watching, "This is the wilderness year. I am inside it. I am not going to escape it." The name closes the door behind you. The door has to close. You cannot do the work standing in the doorway looking back. The second move is the staying. This is where almost every man fails. The middle of the year is the hardest because nothing visible is happening. You want to terminate the curriculum. You want to jump into the rebound, take the wrong job, start the wrong thing, marry the wrong woman, move to the city that is not the answer. Do none of it. Change nothing structural during the middle of the year. No new relationship, no new geography, no new identity laundering hobby. Eat the lunch in the car. Watch the seasons turn. Read what Jung wrote during his own wilderness. Let the year do its work on you while you do nothing to interrupt it. The third move is the return. The year does not end automatically. Every culture had a return ritual because they knew the man could get lost on the way back. Before the year closes, you write down what changed, specifically, what you can do now that you could not do at the doorway, what no longer scares you, what stopped mattering. Then you walk back out and you behave differently. The boon is wasted if you do not use it. The men who come back and re-perform their old self lose what the year gave them inside of 6 months. 3 movements: the crossing, the staying, the return. Do all 3. The man who walks back out of the year is not louder. He is more himself. He does not flinch at silence. He chose it for a year and lived. He no longer measures his worth by who is in the room with him. He no longer panics when the phone is quiet. The wilderness gave him a center the world did not. His kindness is no longer the kindness of a man buying companionship. It is the kindness of a man who has crossed alone and come back. His yes lands, his no lands. The air around him is no longer dangerous, and it is no longer empty. The year is not your enemy. The year is your teacher. Sit down inside it. If you have not yet watched Robert Bly's Iron John, watch that next. The wild man Bly described required the wilderness to find. Tonight you saw what the wilderness itself does. The wild man and the year are two halves of the same descent. Subscribe if you are ready to do the real work. I'll see you in the next one.